Better late than never. That's what we always say on this podcast.
Yeah.
What podcast is that? Why, a whole new podcast. Hey, that's this podcast.
This one
a
right
whole
here.
New pod.
It's
a podcast all about Disney Channel original movies.
That's right.
And us doing the watching and the talking and the reviewing of them.
Yes.
I'm Lucas Melby.
And I'm Jacob Telejohn.
And we are both negative
Nancy's
on coronavirus, but positive on Disney Channel original movies.
Lucas, however, did have a scare.
Yes, that is the reason for us being better late than never this week. Is last week would have been our weekend to record, but I was sick with what I assume was the flu. But it is hard to tell what is the coronavirus and what is the flu, since they have very similar symptoms, and I was not throwing up, which would make it more clearly the flu, but
he seems to be better today.
Had a fever, some aches and chills. Minnesota is getting increasing cases, but still limited. None reported in our area.
Yeah.
But, that shit's about to pop off.
Yes.
But you know what? There's a lot happening in the real world. It's stressing us out. Things getting canceled. Future uncertain. But we know what you're here for. You're getting enough of that already. You want a safe space to just hear some...
To escape.
Hear some nobodies talk for far too long about movies that you'll never watch, but you enjoy us talking about them anyways.
Because, I mean, now you can't go to Disneyland or Disney World, so you might as well listen to Disney podcasts.
Yes. So, and we might be a little all over the place because, stuff is happening with us too. The world is crazy, but we're going to try our best to put that aside and focus on this movie we watched today.
Focus.
Which is a unique situation because we watched the Jett Jackson movie.
Yes.
I was trying to think, the real Jett Jackson. So it's called the Jett Jackson movie.
Okay.
But it's based on the Disney Channel show
called
The Famous Jett Jackson, I believe.
And this is the first movie that we've done that's had a TV show?
As far as I recall. We will, I think the Even Stevens movie is 2003.
There's a couple of
This will definitely become a trend.
It would be like Lizzie McGuire.
Well, I think the Lizzie McGuire movie, that went to theaters, actually.
Oh, wow.
I think that was too big time.
Oh, man.
So we are not going to watch Lizzie McGuire movie unnecessarily.
No,
we might have to decide if we watch High School Musical 3, because that was the one I think that went to theaters.
Oh.
But yeah, we'll get Even Stevens. We'll get, I think, Kim Possible, maybe a couple of those. Phineas and Ferb, Wizards of Waverly Place.
Proud Family.
So,
maybe.
Yes, there is a Proud Family movie. So this is the first of many to come where I will have not watched the show before watching the movie. And I didn't even know of the Famous Jett Jackson.
The name sounds familiar, but I don't recall.
It does, but it could kind of
movie.
exist in the same way of other shows of that era, where they're named after the kid in it.
I mean, a lot of those.
Harriet the Spy, or that wasn't a show. But what was the Nickelodeon one where the girl turns into like a silver puddle?
That sounds familiar.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
But we should actually talk about the premise of the Famous Jett Jackson, because it's actually kind of a unique premise where the character Jett Jackson is played by the black kid in Johnny Tsunami.
The guy with the cool hat in Johnny Tsunami.
He probably the Famous Jett Jackson would have been a thing when he was on or in Johnny Tsunami.
Oh,
so
maybe. That's
Disney Channel crossover there.
They do that a lot.
But his character, Jett Jackson, I think he lives in North or South Carolina, and he is the star of a show called Silverstone, where he plays the titular character Silverstone, who is a secret agent type who works for an organization called
Mom.
The acronym is MOM, and it's like something Omega Matrix.
Yeah.
Mission Omega Matrix.
Yeah,
which
it's straight out of a Xenon
movie. So it is kind of actually, I like a lot of meta narratives and commentary in movies. I love Scream and Cabin in the Woods, where stuff is self-aware. And 30 Rock. 30 Rock is another good example of a show existing within a show. And my understanding is a lot of the Famous Jett Jackson is, the drama of being famous, and maybe some of the show within a show's storylines are reflecting on what's happening in the real world. So I think it's an interesting premise for a kid's show compared to a lot of what existed at the time and exists now, where it's Dog with the Blog, and it was all like the multi-camera sitcom type shows with laugh tracks. This definitely seemed to have existed in its own space.
And we, like he had mentioned, we went into this not knowing any background of any of the characters because, like all the other DCOMs, all they introduced, everybody for the first 10 minutes. We didn't get any of that. It was just kind of like...
Which, in a way, was refreshing because I thought it would be less notes for me to take, but it really wasn't, as far as notes I took. But it still was kind of neat where sometimes DCOMs fall into the same tropes as far as characterizations, where this one, there is all these baggage for these characters and they've been developed previously. So this kind of... You've seen movies based on TV shows. A lot of the time, they're just oversized episodes of the TV show. But I would say this one would not be a typical episode.
No, I was just thinking that too.
With how the plot plays out.
We won't mention that quite yet.
But one other interesting thing to talk about before we actually get into the movie, because we haven't mentioned anything about the movie yet, really, is that the Jett Jackson TV show ended about 2 to 3 weeks after this movie aired. They both ended in June 2001.
Which, I was saying to him, it's kind of weird, why not just finish with the movie, finish out, when there's a lot of people tuning in for that final airing. Why go another
something I came across in doing my preliminary research of just the plot of this movie and trying to understand what was going on in the show, is that there's a thing within people who are fans of Disney Channel, what is called the 65 episode rule, where there are a number of shows that end at the 65th episode.
And that's what this had?
Jett Jackson ended at 65 episodes.
What?
Even Stevens ended at 65 episodes, meaning that probably when we watch the Even Stevens movie...
Is that like...
Yes, it's about 3 years, and...
That's weird.
I don't know if there's really any official guidance, and there's exceptions to the rule.
And there were other ones that...
Yeah, there's a whole... You can type in the 65 episode rule, and there's a whole wiki page of different stuff.
Was it just like...
I think some of it is that it's enough for it to get into syndication then, or I don't know if it was just money decisions from Disney where it's like, this is the amount we'll put in for it, and then we can just coast on syndication or whatever for it. But it does make it weird, especially within the context of the movie with plot points we'll get into as we...
So no show ever went over 65 episodes?
There are exceptions. But like even some of the cartoons, like I think...
Kim Possible?
So Kim Possible stopped at 65 episodes and then later on came back, and that was a break of the rule. I think DuckTales had 100 episodes, but some of the older cartoons like Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers or the TV cartoons of Aladdin or Little Mermaid or stuff like that. But it's things where you don't really pick up on that because as a kid, you just watch what's on TV. And I think 65 episodes also allows them to have enough where they can kind of just run always and flip through different episodes because...
I'd never heard of this before.
It just seems so weird with this movie coming out and then it ends the show and I was like, 65 episodes? And I think I remember seeing something about Even Stevens and then I encountered all of this discussion. Oh yeah, Lizzie McGuire is another one where it's like, these shows, maybe more Lizzie McGuire or Even Stevens, seem probably at the peak of their popularity and then they just end.
A lot of other things, like 101 Dalmatians had 65 episodes.
Yeah, those...
Sonic the Hedgehog.
So it might not even just been Disney-related properties.
The Batman, whoa.
So yeah, it's a whole thing.
Cat Dog. This is getting
fucking
deep.
Cat Dog!
Yo, what is up with this? Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers,
So Chip and Dale
Clifford.
was one, yeah.
What?
So yeah, it's not just a Disney thing, but I could definitely...
the Adventurer? This is like blowing me out of the water. These are just in the D's. There's still, we gotta go through all those. There's a whole bunch of them. Wow.
Kids' TV shows aren't treated like normal people's shows. They just have a cutoff whether it makes storyline sense or not.
Franklin, Dragon Tales, like literally everything.
So
I'm like, okay, let's move on.
And to move on to
Recess.
That is a Disney property it was on ABC.
That's crazy.
So one last thing to note about the Jett Jackson movie is it is the first DCOM we have encountered as we've been watching them since on Disney Plus that is not on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Under wraps, of course, we've talked about how the first DCOM is not on Disney Plus, but this one is not on Disney Plus.
Weird.
But Disney owns the rights to it, presumably, and it's even clearer that they did because it was until probably a couple of weeks ago I had checked, it was on Hulu. So we were planning to use our friend Sam's Hulu subscription to access this movie. No longer on Hulu, so we had to find a extra legal streaming solution, but it was also on something called Disney Now.
What is that? Is it like a ripoff site?
No, it is.
What?
Before everybody has come up with paid subscription services, they had their subscription services that were still tied to your cable package. So I could have gotten onto Disney Now if I stole my parents' password to log in there, where Disney Now is very Disney Channel centric. You create an avatar, and I'm just like, I want to see if the Jett Jackson movie's on here. So I picked an avatar, which I believe was the main character from Zombies. He kind of looks like a Joker, though, because he's white skin and green hair. Yeah. And then I went to, there's a section on there for decoms, and they just have a handful, some of the more recent ones. And they had the Jett Jackson movie. And I checked it on there a few weeks ago, and then I was like, oh, I'll need to get my dad's login information so we can watch it. And now by the time we're recording this episode, it wasn't on there anymore. So Disney had the rights to it a few weeks ago.
And they lost it?
It doesn't make sense because Hulu is also basically owned by Disney because Fox was kind of an owner of Disney.
But it's not on Hulu anymore.
No. So it's
the movie just disappeared. They don't want it to
Disney
exist.
should be at least the co-licensor of it because it was a co-production of Disney and a Canadian television company that made the famous Jett Jackson. And it's weird that there's anything that Disney made or partially made that they wouldn't just have the rights or bought up the rights for. So it's just a frustrating circumstance for really only people who do podcasts about Disney Channel movies. But here we are now. We watched it in not the best quality, but I was not going to pay money for a movie that should be on Disney Plus, and when I'm already paying for Disney Plus, which is already a service that we've talked here and there about how isn't really the best value right now unless you are doing a podcast about Disney Channel original movies.
True.
But the next movie we'll watch after the Jett Jackson movie also is not on Disney Plus.
Oh, God.
So...
And what is that going to be?
The Jenny Project.
Oh, ick.
Which that's for the next episode, but knowing what I know about that movie, it's a little more understanding that it's not on Disney Plus. Still think Disney should have the rights to it, but Jett Jackson is a show. The show should be on Disney Plus as well as the movie. So finally, after all of that, the secret behind the scenes 65 episode details, the subscription service woes we have, we'll finally get to the Jett Jackson movie.
Yay!
When we get that title card right away, outside of a factory.
Yeah.
Looks like the setting of
a Batman
Under Wraps, where they meet up with the tax evading old man there. And inside there's villains who we don't know, but probably should know if we watch the show. That will happen with a lot of people in this movie, but you're still able to somewhat piece together what's going on.
I think by movie's end, we had a pretty good idea.
So the villains we meet, one we'll eventually learn is his name is the Rat. The other we will save for his dramatic reveal of when we learn his name, because it is probably our favorite part of the movie. Mm-hmm. So they're doing some villainous thing, making a deal. We don't really care or know about what they're doing. There's something drops down from the ceiling, and we see a blonde girl who is Hawk. Not Lady Hawk, just Hawk. Though she is a lady. She's like a teenager.
Yeah.
And then somebody else drops down, and it's Jett Jackson, but not because they say, oh, Silverstone. So the character he's playing. So they ambush them. Something happens. There's a long kind of thing where there's a mini fight. Somebody, I don't know, hit something. Sparks flying. The factory's going to explode.
Yes.
So it's a dramatic escape sequence.
And Jett or Silverstone is trying to save.
So one of the villains is this bald guy.
Yes.
Who's an evil doctor-y type or something. And he's Silver's going through the door and he's like, hey, come on, bad guy. And the bad guy says no. Pushes him out, closes the door,
he closes the door on himself, and later on he ends up blames Silver.
He blames Silver, even though Silver tried to save him.
Yes.
The explosion happens. They do I think they do a dive away from the explosion.
Yeah.
One of those dramatic action things. And then Good scene.
Yeah. So, I mean, for us, never seeing it before, if you didn't do any research, you'd be like, oh, well, this is weird.
This would have been the coolest opening to DCOM, probably. I want to see Xenon deal with an explosion. But it is interesting because there's a thing we'll wrestle with as this movie goes along of what the camera shows us as far as what is real
and what is part
and
of
with
the
way
show.
This works is this implies when they say cut that everything we had seen thus far was fake, but also was a single scene.
Yes.
That they're talking, the heroes show up, there's the explosion, they escape, the explosion happens. That is all one take, which is not how television or movies work. But that's what they're implying for us, was like, oh, that was a really good one. We got it in the can. We don't need to redo that 5 minutes of footage. And that is only one of many things where, hey, I'm not a television producer. I'm not in the industry. I know this is not how television works. No. And it is fun to have a show about a show, but you would hope it could be a little more accurate. But it's, hey, cut. And then we're seeing the cast and crew and we're meeting characters, but not really meeting them because we're supposed to know who they are. But it's like, oh, he's the director. He's the quirky electronics prop guy. And I don't know a lot of these characters' names. I didn't feel the need to look them up. I kind of felt a relief. I told Jacob that, hey, it's not possible for me to know 65 episodes worth of a television show for these characters. No. We're just going to roll with it.
Roll with the punches.
And speaking of rolling with it, my next notes are, we just have a collection of scenes. We're seeing different scenes of Jett, not Silver, Jett at school, where he's kind of talking about how he's tired, he's getting wore out from the show. Yeah. We meet his friend JB, who has no eyes. He has a soulless eyes. It was probably the quality of the stream we were watching, which was below 480p, probably like 240p or something. Yeah. But the way his friend JB always looks, who's just like a 90s ass kid, Hawaiian shirt, spiked up hair, kind of chubby, but his eyes always just look like, I can't say what drugs, but like LSD or something, or PCP, where it's just his pupil is all of his iris. It just looks, I said, for people who get the reference, he just looks like he's infected with the black oil alien virus from the X-Files. It looks kind of disturbing at times, but he's a fun, go-lucky guy. He's fun. I enjoy what we get of JB. We also meet Kayla, who
doesn't really play a major role in this movie.
Yeah. Probably she's a love interest for Jett, and it's probably treated as this is like a culmination of something from the show. Yeah, where I'm sure she's a bigger character, and this is a big payoff for fans in some ways. Yeah. But it does feel like
to us, it's nothing.
And that's what's so weird of this movie is it's not actually treated necessarily as the finale of the show, but there's aspects of it that. Like, this situation could feel like, oh, it's a Ross and Rachel finally got together kind of thing. Yeah. And then we get some more scenes of the show where we don't know it's still very elaborate, and we're, oh, what's happening? And then it cuts. Oh, cut. Good take. And it feels like a movie we went to see in theaters recently. It's an older movie, but Perfect Blue, which is an anime film directed by Satoshi Kon, which is directly about an actress. It has similarities to Black Swan, where it's about an actress in a show or movies, and basically it's like a psychological thriller, and her reality starts to blend with what's happening in the show, and the movie's cut in a way where it's hard to tell what is real and what is the show. Yeah. And that's not what this movie's going for, but it is how it comes off.
I do know nothing about the show going into it. My idea was like, is this like a secret agent playing a secret agent in a show?
Agent Cody Banks.
Yeah. It's confusing. But like after it happens like 3 or 4 more times, cut, then you kind of like, oh, okay. But then they throw us a little curveball eventually, so.
Well, and actually part of what my issue is that I knew some of the plot of the movie. Yeah. So that kind of colored what I was thinking, and we'll go into that in a little bit.
Yeah, we kind of both interpreted what was being shown to us in different ways.
So then we're also quickly seeing some conflicts set up between these different intercuts. So the big things I have written down, Jett. Jett. T's could look like F sometimes. Jeff.
My name Jeff.
I already used the Jeopardy clip, so I can't put that at the end. Jett is not happy with his star life. He doesn't know if he wants to continue on with the show. He's talking to JB like, hey, Jett, I hear you got like a 3-year contract coming up. Can you continue the show? I don't know if I want to do it. Then also something about going to the prom with Kayla. Ooh, it's the junior prom. It's a cool deal. And then it also seemed that within the show, it seemed like Silver was having some kind of conflict with Hawk, but that doesn't really amount to anything, and I might have just been misreading what was happening there. So I was starting to think probably something that happens in the show where the plot of the show reflects what's happening in reality, and then it all ends with a good moral and life lesson about helping out your elders or taking responsibility and not lying. But that's not really what's happening here. And Jett starts to have probably problems he's had many times where the shooting schedule of the show is fucking up his life.
Yeah.
But it is so unclear how it works because I swear there's a time where he goes to school in the morning and then, he's talking to Kayla. The bell rings.
He records.
I gotta go. And then we see him recording the show and we assume it's after school. But then he goes back to school after the scene's done and then sees Kayla and says, you were going to tell me something, but the bell cut you off earlier today. And I'm like, what the fuck?
He's just, recording full episodes and
I know child stars, it's a tricky thing for them to schedule education. A lot of time they have a kind of like a homeschool teacher, whether it's their actual parent or somebody helping them. But for a school to allow this, for their students to just be able to take off during...
Well, he brought in so much money.
That is the thing where maybe they allow it.
He can do whatever he wants.
We can get ahead of ourselves a little bit where the Jett Jackson or Silverstone is basically a cottage industry for whatever town he's living in, where everybody works on
Without
it seems.
the show, the town
it is propping up the town. It's a tax base or something.
It built up around him.
It doesn't really make sense, and we'll get into that as we go along.
Yeah.
But what Kayla wanted to ask him about was, do you want to go to the prom?
No.
Sure, I'll go to the prom. But damn it, the shooting schedule fucks it up and he misses the prom.
And he shows up at like an hour after it's over. Nobody's there. The janitor's sweeping the floor.
But there's still music playing.
And his mom's there.
And his mom, which we were both like, is that his mom? Because we don't know anything about the show, and it was the only thing that really made sense other than maybe it being a teacher that he likes. But yeah, it's his mom, and she, I guess, was a chaperone for a prom that her son didn't go to.
He's like, your girl was looking fine. And he's like, yeah, she's always looking fine.
And then they have a very early on mom-son decom moment.
That's maybe one of the only ones they have.
There's also a dad one, but yeah, they're very abbreviated. We also get a grandma one.
Grandma's more important.
Yeah,
the grandma's more. Yeah, this was like it, though.
So this is him. He's talking, hey, I don't know if I really want to do the show. And it also almost comes off that the mom's like, hey, I think you should keep doing it.
We need that bread,
he's
honey.
Making a lot of money with it.
We need that bread.
But ultimately, the conclusion they reach is, hey, you do what's important for you. And if that means ending the show, so be it.
So be it. It is what it is.
Then the next day at the shoot, one of the funniest scenes in the movie happens where it had been set up already that Jett had put a cola can on the electronics switchboard that the tech guy who runs the effects for the show had.
Yeah.
So they're filming a scene where there's this kind of Stonehenge-looking portal almost, a Stargate or something, if you will.
Yes.
And they're filming the scene, and there's a guy just walking around with a long
2x4.
It's probably not a 2x4, it's longer than that.
Yeah.
But it's a 2x16 or something like that.
Yeah.
Some comically long piece of wood, and he's just walking around. I wouldn't have been surprised if it almost seemed like he went in front of the camera, but no, he just went in front of some crew and he's just doop-doo-doo and dramatically turns the board to hit this cola can.
Yeah, and slowly. It wasn't just like whack. It just it bumped it and it just slowly
and it was
tipped
so
over.
Comically and cartoonish that it only could have been dumber if he went the path he went to dodge a giant piece of glass being held by two guys walking around. Oh, sorry, didn't want to crash through your glass or anything. Kids skateboarding by. Oh no, there's the Grim Reaper. It's Paperboy, the NES game. So yes, the can is on the electronics. Oh, it's starting going haywire, which then triggers the portal
to become active,
to become a real portal.
And it sucks him in.
Oh yeah,
he doesn't even fall or trip.
Okay,
he just gets sucked back into it, and it shows him shooting out the other side, and we see him land on his back, I think, right?
Yeah, and then it's implied...
And then he's kind of like out. He's like knocked out.
It's implied that some time has passed, and he wakes up kind
with
of...
people hovering over him.
Yeah.
And
the characters are Hawk and Artemis, who's kind of the Q, the tech guy, their kind of leader who gives them missions within the mission operations matrix. So then he's like, oh, wow, pretty crazy effect. What did you think, Nigel?
Yeah,
who is Artemis's actual name.
Yes, and the guy's like, the fuck you call me?
He no-sells it. So then Jet's thinking, oh, are you just like super in character? Come on, Nigel.
Yeah.
And then we cut to... We don't really beat around the bush. It's very clear very quickly on that... Two worlds exist, and there is a Silverstone, and there's a Jett Jackson, and they've switched places.
Yes.
So then we see Silver in Jet's world.
Correct.
Where
all the crew's over him.
He's doing the opposite of talking to Nigel and whatever the Hawk girl's name is, calling them by their show names, and they're being like, yo, Jet, settle down. And he's walking around and seeing that the set is not quite what he expects.
No.
You know, it's not fully realized. It's cutoffs in place.
He sees
the doors are not automatic and open for him, and he sees all the cast and crew.
Everybody. Who are these people?
So that's kind of funny where he's running around and he happens upon... Throughout some of these scenes, there's been an agent or a producer hopping around being like, Jet, I need to talk to you about renewing the show. Come on, come back for 3 more seasons.
And this agent, if you remember, he is in Quince. He's the one that's...
He plays the exact same role of money-excited guy,
same voice,
forcing things.
Yeah, still a dick.
So then Silver happens upon a press conference where all these people are coming up. Oh, are you going to do the next 3 seasons or whatever? And he just runs away. Yeah. Which gives them the impression that he is not going to keep doing the show. So the stuff with Silver in Jet's world is a little goofier and more fun than Jet in Silver's world, because Silver just comes up, or Jet just comes off as really fucking stupid, because Silver adds up things being like, this isn't my world, but Jet's like sticking with it for so long, being like, wow, this set looks really good.
There was never a hallway here before. Where's all the cast?
I don't remember this scene. What are we doing? Yeah, where's the crew? And it's like, oh my god, come on, Jet. As soon as you just went past this door where usually there was nothing behind it and you see a bunch of other stuff that isn't there, you should be able to figure this out.
Yeah.
But he goes out into this hallway and he's freaking out, and then he just comes up, some security guys come up and trank him or something and drag him away. So this is where I like the premise of this movie, but it doesn't necessarily fall apart, but it makes basically no sense if you think about it for 2 seconds.
What's that?
Is that, how do these 2 worlds exist?
Yes, we talked about this.
We'll quickly see that things that have already been filmed as scenes for Jet's show in Jet's world have things that have actually happened in Silver's world.
We also don't know the timelines.
I mean, it seems to be...
Do we?
I mean, the timelines aren't necessarily important, but it seems that the explosion scene that they filmed at the top of the movie
had already happened.
And the events from that are continuing in Silver's world.
Yes.
And quite later on in the movie...
But they're also in the script
They talk about the script, and the script is exactly what's going to be happening in that world. Yes. But they don't go into the creators of the world being the writers or anything.
So that's why I think the writers, whatever the writers write down, is what becomes
that's what makes
actuality in the Silver Surfer, Silver Fox.
But then it just implies that this is a separate dimension, but the dimensions are directly connected. And then there also seems to be kind of a reciprocal thing where things that Jet does in Silver's world ends up coming off that Silver did those things in that world. So yeah, it's one of those things. It's like a time travel movie, but even more quickly falls apart if you think about it. Yeah. So we'll try not to be too nitpicky and fixate on that too much. But back in Jet's world, Silver gets picked up by Jet's mom.
Yes.
To escape from the press conference or something.
And they drive 4 days.
Yeah, she picks him up and it's maybe afternoon. And by the time she drops him off, because
it's like 8 p.m.
She is divorced.
9 p.m.
She drops him off at
midnight.
Jet's dad's house. And yep, it's dark. They were in a convertible. The convertible top was down.
Now it's
night
up.
and it's up. So they were driving for
Cruising.
quite a ways. And at one point she says, yeah, it's something like yada, yada, yada. That's what moms are for. And Silver just goes, Mom? That maybe I think he doesn't know his mom in his world. And that's where I remembered reading that
Mom stands for...
Objective matrix or whatever stands for mom. So I thought that was going to be like some greater connection. And it wasn't.
Didn't turn out to be.
Which it doesn't really matter one way or another.
They set it up to it, though.
She drops him off. Silver goes into Jett's house. And then we meet his dad, who there's flyers on his table.
For mayor.
For sheriff.
Sheriff.
To be reelected, which basically is only there as set dressing. And I assume him being sheriff is more important in the show.
Yeah, his dad answers the phone. And he says, what does he say, Dad? And he's like, no.
So the dad answers the door, but he's on the phone.
Yes.
And he says, Dad, what? No, I'm the milkman.
Milkman.
To be really sassy. And it makes sense within like the context of him being like, that's a stupid thing to say to me. Yeah. But it also allows us to be like, this is his dad, if we didn't know that already. Which we did not.
No.
Because we did not watch the show. And the dad just keeps saying, hey, I'm on the phone. When it's extremely clear he is on the phone.
He says that for the whole scene.
Yeah, and later on in the scene, he says that at least one or two more times.
I'm on the phone.
I'm on the phone.
He'll pull that away to show you.
So yeah, we see his dad. His dad is in like 2 other scenes in the movie. Basically only has to be in the movie because he's in the show.
He's on the phone.
And it'd be weird for him to not be in the movie.
That makes sense.
The grandma comes in with a bunch of groceries.
She steals the whole movie.
Sure.
Senile G-Ma.
So
maybe
we'll see more of them, I guess.
Yes, we will.
So he goes, Silver goes up to Jett's room, which is luckily decorated with lots of helpful things he can hold up to answer plot questions. So we see a picture, which makes sense that it is Jett's headshot, like an actor would have. Yeah. But he has it framed on his desk.
Framed up.
The picture of him underneath says Jett Jackson. Yes. So then he turns, that's him. And he looks up at the wall and sees a poster of Silverstone.
That's
show.
Me.
That's me. So Silver, much smarter than Jett, already starting to piece together some of these things going on. But that is very funny. Yes, decorating your room with plot important things. He also has a picture of like Kayla that gets held up shortly.
Yeah, his girlfriend.
Well, love interest.
Because he had already talked to Booger, or not Booger.
Whoa. You're thinking of Boomer from Mom's Got a Date with a Vampire. But speaking of JB slides through his window.
Through the window, he breaks through the room.
Silver almost... he starts to attack him.
He flips him over his back onto the bed.
And JB's like, wow, that's so cool.
That was awesome.
So Silver is very smart. Basically, everybody in Jett's world, though, which makes sense because Jett is dumb in the alternate world, is very dumb and does not pick up on like, oh, it's just, hey, Jett, you're being kind of weird, but they don't really suspect anything beyond that. But because even JB's like, JB writes down his name because he thinks Jett's doing a bit where he doesn't remember his name. So it's like, well, now we know JB because this character is very stupid.
Yes.
And the movie does a hilarious thing where Jett has a basketball hoop on his wall.
And he hits like two,
the movie
shots.
Buries JB's ability to make hoops because he shoots 3 times.
And one's like just like hard as shit, bouncing off the wall.
Yes, the first 2 are ridiculous misses. Luckily, they do let him hit one in the end, but it is... I would have loved it if they just... Yeah, the rule of 3.
He hits it, the thing just falls off the wall.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite parts of the movie. And then JB's pushing, hey, so you didn't say you were going to like stop doing the show? Hey, I'd love it if you did because I'm tired of only spending half the time with my best friend. Kayla would like it too, but she's really upset with you now. And Silver's like, Kayla? And luckily, JB just has a picture that Jett has. It says Kayla.
It's like that Jack Nicklaus gif. Yeah, I'll see it.
So that kind of sets up the dynamics that Silver is able to understand. And here's in my notes where I say, Jett is very stupid because he does not pick up on what's happening and is still asking people, where's the crew? And I don't understand. Artemis desperately tries to explain things to him to be saying, hey, you are Silver. Because this is Mission Operation Matrix or whatever.
Because he's just waking up from being knocked out, isn't he? He's like laying on the bed and they're like talking about him. Yeah.
He's like, you have missions to do. I am assigning you these missions to do with Hawk. So this is where we find out that the explosion scene from the beginning of the movie was real.
Yeah.
And then there's
Because they watch videos.
Yeah, there's a security footage where, hey, this doctor was here in the beginning, but now he's here there. Yada, yada, yada. It makes no sense.
And I don't know why they did that. I don't know if that was like a time warp,
So what it is, without really, we can finally say what the name of the villain is, which is Crag. But it's spelled, I think probably spelled Krag, but a lot of the times people enunciate it as just being like Craig.
Yes.
So we just like
it goes back and forth.
So I like just to think the villain's name is Craig. God damn it, Craig! And he has the ability to alter molecular stuff, so it's implied that this guy, that they're like, oh, he was the assistant. He was there, and now he's here. It was Craig.
So he was the doctor that was alive.
So but he's dead. Oh, he shows up dead, so it's like, oh, Craig pretending to be him to escape from the explosion or something.
Yes.
All that matters is it leads to them taking a helicopter ride to Chicago. Because Chicago is a place in this television show and alternate dimension. And they go there and it's a wasteland.
Gone. There's literally nothing there.
And this is where they say, oh, it was done by Crag. Crag, you bastard. Because Craig has the ability, molecular shit or whatever.
To somehow fuck everything
Dimensional travel, something.
And
he
everything.
Snatched Chicago.
He can change colors in the air?
Sure. No, that's just dramatic effect. So it is funny that Silver's world, the outside of it, looks almost post-apocalyptic, but that might be just because we're looking at Chicago that isn't there anymore. But it's colored in a way like the TV show probably is, where television and movies don't look like real life does. You know, when you film your own footage, it just looks kind of bland because in post-production and stuff, they alter the colors, make things pop a little bit more.
Yeah.
Great example is Mad Max Fury Road. The orange sand, the ridiculous highlighted colors. That's not how the movie looked when they were filming it.
Yeah.
That's how, that's the movie magic.
Movie magic.
So it is funny that is still how this world looks, even though this world is a reality and the way it looked before in some of the special effects and whatnot would have been because it was a TV show. Again, don't think about it too much. So then a really dumb thing happens where Artemis shows up at Chicago and he did not ride with them. And then they said, oh, I thought you were still at the base. No, I had to come see it for myself. Hey, this is fucked up shit. You guys should go to New York because I hear Crag is going to be there. So they're like, okay, sounds good. They get in the helicopter,
and he starts,
leave him behind. Which, if they were thinking, we're going to leave Artemis here. How did he get there? How is he getting back? It doesn't matter because the whole point is, yes, the dramatic reveal.
It's Crag.
That Artemis was Crag the whole time.
But maybe not when, what's his name, first arrived.
No, not the whole time.
No, not the whole time. Just that time.
It's not that knocked out, Craig did not knock out Artemis. He just reveals that he wanted them to go to New York. So, master plan,
Was
Craig.
Craig ever the girl?
Yes. Spoiler alert. We'll get to another dramatic Craig reveal.
He's everybody. At one point or another.
So then, in the real world, Silver is walking with JB to school, and they happen across a teacher that works at their school, and he's hammering in a for sale sign, which is not really how that works. Usually you have realtors do that, because they have to put their face on it, but since this is, they're not going to create a character that's a realtor. It's Mr. Dupree, who is the most teacher-ass teacher. He's got a southern drawl kind of thing. He's got glasses on that have the hanging strap in the back.
They were joking with him about wearing a suit of some sort.
Yeah, hey,
so he's obviously...
don't you need to get to school? He's like, no, boys, there is no more school for me. I'm moving...
I gotta move.
Or they said, oh, you moving up? Nah, boss, I'm moving out. Jet, you done fucked us right in the ass.
Yeah.
Because Jet stopping the show, the town depends on the show so much, presumably partially through taxes, that the school has to make cuts because he is not doing the show. So that means that Mr. Dupree is no longer going to be employed at the school.
It goes deep.
So then Silver's kind of processing that, and JB's like, oh, that's kind of fucked up. Hey, by the way, Jet, you don't need to feel bad for screwing everybody's lives. And Silver's like, yeah, okay, problem solved. I do not feel bad at all.
Oof.
So then I thought a fairly funny scene where Silver's at school and still just being kind of socially inept, where JB's talking to him, and then Kayla comes up because they have lockers next to each other, and she's talking, and then Silver says something, and then she does the whole, "Oh, I'm sorry, did you hear something, JB? I didn't hear anything. Was that a bug?" And then he says, "Oh, why is she ignoring me?" And then she's just like, "Bye," and JB's, "I wonder why." And then Silver tries to apologize, but then it doesn't work. But then Kayla does a weird thing where she's like, "I guess I should be sorry because I shouldn't have expected anything from a famous guy." And it's just like, okay, this is getting kind of weird. But then we get the best character in the movie, Tank.
Yeah.
Tank, the bully jock, comes up and says, "Hey, fuck you, famous boy. My parents worked on your show. You're ruining everything."
Pretty much. And I wish I would have known this now. Might as well mention this now. That those two in the show were best friends.
In the Famous Jett Jackson.
In the show, they're best friends. We learned that later on because is it the
dad says, you guys what's wrong with you and Tank? You're good friends.
But he's like a complete asshole.
Hey.
He's like one of the worst villains or bullies we've had in a decom.
Yeah, maybe, but...
And he looks like he's 30.
He is one of the oldest looking kids we've seen in one of these movies. Which, if he's a character from the show, maybe makes sense because he would have been 3 years younger when the show started, but that still would have put him at like 27 playing a 16-year-old or something.
What the heck?
But as far as motivations for people to bully somebody, having the character be the result of your parents losing their jobs isn't the worst thing, but it still begs the question of, how does the show work? Because the show is filmed in places outside of Hollywood. They get tax breaks. It does bring in some business, but it's not like The Walking Dead does not employ the entire state of Georgia. Some people could work on this show. They might be local cameramen from, I don't know, news stations or public access TV. Still fairly unlikely. They work in catering. There's a limit to how many people could be employed for this show.
Yeah.
That operates outside of the studio industry setting, where there just happens to be all of these industry folks who apparently had no jobs in this area before, but existed there. Because I don't think it's implied that they moved out there to work on the show. They were just already there, and it was very serendipitous that the show gave them employment.
Who knows?
So then, back in Silver's world, Jet and Hawk go to New York and basically immediately run into Craig, because Craig can travel through dimensions. So he just makes a tear, pops out, has the most ridiculous pair of goggles. They're not just normal goggles. Cool. They're not steampunk. They're like plastic.
Wrap around your whole head.
The strap goes over his head to the back, and he doesn't take them off in a cool way. He just like slides them off of his head to the side. And they look like the things that would come with
a Happy Meal toy?
Yeah, a Happy Meal toy, for like old laser tag. Yeah, the Scholastic Book Fair spy equipment sets or whatever. Yeah. Something with that.
Really cheesy.
We see him one more time in the movie, and it's just...
See it from behind the back.
We see it from the back, and it doesn't even look like it lines up with the middle of his head. It's just a complete disaster. But he shows up and is like, my master plan, I'm Craig.
Craig.
I'm both taking places and people to my own dimension where I am the ruler. I am King Craig.
Where it's also sepia tone.
So he takes, Chicago was taken to this separate dimension. And he says, hey, you and Lady Hawk, you are going to be in my world soon. Look at that clock. And it's like 11:58 and 30 seconds.
And they just start running.
At 12 o'clock. All of New York City will be in my dimension.
Yeah.
And then we get one of the most baffling... You can't even call it a chase scene because they're running away from something. But they're running, and they try to make it more dramatic by doing a bunch of slow-mo. And it's just ridiculous.
Like they're running for 5 minutes.
They're running forever, but it's in slow-mo, so that's why it's only been like 30 seconds.
Yes.
But it all leads up to them jumping off into some water.
Because we don't know what they're really running from. Where's the epicenter? Where are they going? Why is the water going to save them? It doesn't make any sense.
Fucking Craig.
It doesn't make any sense.
Goddamn Craig.
So as they're jumping into the water, and then it's like a whole like atomic bomb goes off.
They barely miss the explosion behind them.
They bob up from the water.
Is it an implosion?
Who knows?
Yes, they're probably in the Hudson, I would think.
Dirty water. They're bobbing up, and there's nothing. Everything's gone.
They're in most likely not actual New York City, but they turn behind, and it looks like the desolate landscape of Chicago, where it just was snatched up but not any of the water. He's like, hey, I just want the land. I don't want the bay or anything.
And they
I don't want the Brooklyn Bridge. Just leave the Brooklyn Bridge cut off.
And they climb back up, and they're on some solid ground now when peekaboo, here comes Craig again.
God damn it, Craig.
Slicing through space-time continuum.
He says, surprise, bitch, it's me, Craig. And he's like, okay, well, I guess I didn't get you, but I will. But then, so
why didn't you just do like something like quick, like
if he could appear out of anywhere, he could have just pulled them in.
Yeah.
But then, so Craig then goes back into his
But they chase
portal,
him.
And then Jet is able to get in, but Hawk is not.
Correct.
So then Jet lands through, and it just looks like New York, but it's another interesting thing where, it's sepia toned,
yes.
so it's kind of not quite black and white, but that kind of like brownish tinge.
We see people kind of moving around like robots, just kind of like zombies.
Yeah.
But then like he thinks to himself, he's like, no sound.
And no color.
Yeah, and no color. He does say that too.
So it wasn't thinking, this is kind of just a cool dramatic take.
Yeah.
But no, that is how it actually looks.
Yes.
So unlike what we were just talking about, how the world of Silver kind of looks dramatic because that's how it looks. It's not because it's a TV special effect.
No.
This is one where we thought it was a TV special effect or something, but no, that's how the world looks.
Yeah.
But because Jet went through of his own will through the portal,
he's not a zombie-fied.
Still here?
Yeah.
But
his own voice.
Sepia tone.
Yes. Who knows?
But nobody else can hear him. He's wandering around.
Waving in front of people's faces. Hey, can you hear me?
And then
Hello?
Comes across cronies that he had seen previously. Or
yes,
he just knows are Craig's cronies.
So if all these people are under this like weird spell, almost kind of like they are in Halloween Town, why are his cronies just like walking the streets?
Because they went into the portal with Craig.
Who knows?
We should also mention there's a cool... He looks up in the sky and there's a giant eye looking down.
And later
the eye of Craig.
Later in the movie, we see him looking into like a world. He looks down into the world, and like at one point, he looks at Paris and stuff like that. But
it doesn't make a lot of sense. But it was a scene that I felt very much would have been in like the commercials for this movie. It'd be like, "Whoa, what's happening in Jett Jackson world? There's a crazy eye in the sky."
So when he sees the cronies, so this is Jet, not Silver.
Correct.
And he tries to engage in like fighting them, and they just simply just like move out of every kick and punch or whatever. And like the one guy like just kicks him down. He's like, "Oh, this isn't going to be like the show at all." And then he just runs away.
Yeah, he runs away, but then starts to fight them.
And then he's really good.
He fights them in like a park.
A park. He's
and
running
then all of a sudden has skills.
Yes. It doesn't make any sense.
So there's a decent fight scene, probably better than some of the other fights.
No,
in the movie.
I really liked it, the way that he utilized the swings.
And he steals this kind of metallic crystal blade type thing from one of the cronies.
Which is what slices through
And he knows that that's how it works, because I think he saw Craig
use it.
So then he slices through and jumps back through the portal.
Yeah.
Which lands right where he was before. Not...
Next to a hawk.
Yeah.
And it's like no time had passed because she's just still laying there like
that
she
he's
just
able to
jumped
control
through
it or whatever.
And who knows how much time had passed in that world.
Yeah.
Was it just
Hawk
5 minutes?
Still
Was
there.
it an hour? Who knows how long?
The idea was, at least, presumably you could think that when he went through the portal before, it could have been where he was, but also Craig wasn't there, so that doesn't really make sense. But this one, he was just cut it anywhere, and he then can choose where he appears, too.
Yeah.
Not that, like, a mile away or something.
Yeah.
Whatever. Back in the real world, but is it the real world? It's the real world. There's a bike trip where Scott... Too many fucking names. Silver goes on a bike ride with JB and Kayla.
He talks to Grandma before that, doesn't he? Is that when he had a little talk? Or
it's to set up that he's starting to have a bit of a fun relationship with Grandma.
Yes.
But I thought most of that was just, hey, do I have a bike? And the Grandma's like, yeah, you have a bike. So then he gets on his bike. But Silver still uses proper safety procedures.
Then his friends have the helmets too.
And then they run into Tank
and his goons.
Yes. They're all wearing their Letterman jackets, and they stop them on their fun bike ride. It's kind of
like Craig's, squad in the other dimension.
Very true.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. Wow.
Well, don't think too much.
Wow.
So they're kind of having a thing where it's still about, hey, you're fucking everything up for this town. Yeah. They're about to throw down. Silver pulls out a prop from the show because he thinks it's going to work and do something special, but it doesn't.
Yeah, it's going to like push him back like a ways. It's like a force shield thing.
Yeah, but right as soon as they're about to start throwing down hands or something,
Papa,
Dad, the sheriff, pulls up, Just gets Jett, though. It leaves the other people behind because he's like, Jett, you got some scenes to shoot. So then brings him in the car, and this is where we hear the dad say, you and Tank used to be such good friends. And they, have a little bit more of a moment. And the dad says, essentially, hey, I know that when you've had enough, so if you don't want to do this show anymore, that's fine.
That's fine.
It's so much pressure put on this kid. Not just, he's probably supporting his family for the most part. He's supporting this whole town. He's getting bullied. Even probably some of his friends, like JB's like, hey, I really like Mr. Dupree, so maybe you should do the show.
True.
Jett. So Silver then he goes to do his scenes, and this is where we learn that they've been rewritten. And the rewrites seem to reflect stuff that has happened in Silver's world by Jett.
Yes.
So it's like, was this the original plot? We don't know, but it is now commenting on, in the show, Silver is saying stuff that is related to what happened in New York.
Yes.
None of this is explained how the connections and the feeding off of one another is happening, but hey, just go with it.
Just go with it.
So presumably the scene gets done, but in Silver's world, Jett is back at Mission Operations Matrix or whatever, sitting on the roof looking at the moon. Then Hawk comes out and they have a little bit of a moment, and she says, you really aren't Silver, are you? And then he has the really deep line that says, I don't know who I am. Maybe I am Silver. And it's just settle down. Okay, settle down, Jett Jackson.
It's not that deep.
But this parallels with Silver in Jett's world, where he's on the porch and he's sitting there, and then Grandma comes out, and I didn't pay a whole lot of attention.
In her senile state.
But she understands. She's the only person in that world to understand.
Not really Jett.
That he is not Jett. And he's like, I don't know if he says he's Silver. So the grandma knows that he's from another dimension or another world.
Yeah.
She does not seem too freaked out by it.
Because she's senile.
But she imparts some... This is one of those scenes where now I've seen enough of these movies where I kind of just is like, I know what the point of the scene is, and I kind of just tune out. This is decom family moments.
Usually it's with a sibling or a parent.
Yeah.
This time it's with...
In Johnny Tsunami, it can be a grandparent.
But
this is where we
this is not a grandparent. This is a great-grandmother.
She does seem to call him her great-grandson.
My great-grandson.
Which is... Sure. Okay. Let's not worry about that too much, but she must be very old. So Silver quickly the next day makes up with Kayla in front of JB's family store. And I think he goes in like the cop's car and like cranks the radio to play a song that he had said, or that Jett had said was his favorite song. And the mom played it, and they're slow dancing in front of the store.
It was weird.
It's like, okay, sure. There's a lot going on in this movie, and this was probably important payoff for the fans of the show, but it does feel very half-baked and shoved in
for the movie.
This movie. And they go to the last day of shooting. Silver's in his trailer playing a fake video game handheld that he got from Hounded, probably.
Gotta have it.
Mom pops in, talks to him. Hey, you don't need to worry about the show ending because, hey, I sorted things out. She goes outside and there's
everybody's
a crowd.
Happy.
They have signs, though, which almost made it seem like maybe they're protesting him. But the signs must say, you're great, Jett, but we don't actually see them because the only people in the crowd we see are characters that had already been shown in the movie.
Yes.
So it was a lot of his family members and friends. Yeah, they're going to be fine with him not doing the show. It would have been more impactful to see just random people.
Well, and then Buster the Bully.
We see Tank.
Tank's like, yeah, man, what's up, dude? What's good, brother?
He has turned over a huge leaf where he's...
All of them.
Yeah, my parents, they straightened me out. You're the man. I love you again, Jett. Okay, awesome.
Who knows?
The real Tank. I don't know.
Please stand up.
So then they head in to shoot the final scenes, and they hear that the network has made some changes because this is going to be the final episode of the show now. So they've got some last-minute rewrites. And this is not how television production works. If this is the last day of shooting, they have probably filmed 95% of the content of this episode. And now they're going to film maybe a few more scenes, and that's going to be the ending. But also, shows and movies do not always film in sequential order of what happens in the movie. They can do it out of order based on scheduling and things like that. But this reminds me of how WWE implies that it operates, because in the realm of professional wrestling, of course, is treated as if it's real, but also the shows, Monday Night Raw, Friday Night SmackDown, are treated as if they are real promotions and sporting events.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time what WWE does on a Monday Night Raw is the first segment of the show will be somebody coming out, talking on the mic, cutting a promo, saying like, oh, yada, 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 you suck. Then the general manager will come out and say, oh, well, here's the main event. It's going to be you because you said this guy sucked against the person you said sucked.
Yeah.
And that implies they went into this event that is being filmed live without knowing what actually was going to be happening on the show. And there are some times where people are backstage doing wrestling stuff and then they get mad they're put in a match. They showed up not knowing what they were going to be doing or not expecting to actually wrestle. And it's just, this is a multi-million or billion-dollar company and just is asking us to suspend disbelief that realistically, this is how television happens if it's just made up on the fly.
That's right.
And that is what the famous Jett Jackson is telling us is this is how it happens. The network of all people dictates how the show ends, which can sometimes happen. Yeah. And they're making rewrites on the day we're supposed to film the last scenes.
Yeah. Because Jett wants to throw the towel in. He's a quitter.
Thank you for allowing me that tangent. So then Silver gets the script and he reads it to see how the show's ending. And then he does something that neither Silver or Jett had thought of up to that point.
Walk through the fucking portal.
He walks through the portal, which is still on the set. It's
still plugged in.
And still working. And he goes through.
And boom, he's back home.
And he finds Jett.
So it was weird.
I mean, I can understand Jett not trying that, but Silver's smart. And realistically, that should have been
the first thing you do.
If this was a different movie, you get sucked through this portal, you're there.
First,
oh, fuck.
Yeah.
What the fuck is... Oh, this is a different world.
First
you immediately go through,
yes.
and you try, and then it doesn't work.
Yes.
And usually this would be more of a, oh, I need to figure out a way to get back. And then they could still go with some of the events.
But it's
but
broken, they gotta fix
they didn't
it
play out... I mean, that would have been a more cliche storyline, but it just makes people seem very stupid in this movie.
The writers just didn't know how to get him back.
Yes, the Jett Jackson movie was being written as it went along.
Yes.
They were making shit up late in the script. So then he sends Jett back through the gate. They say, hey, you go through, I'll take care of this, you go back to your world. Hey, you got a real nice world. I'd hate for something to happen to it.
Yeah.
So then Jett learns from the crew guy that Silverstone is going to die in the final episode. That's in the script.
Yes,
and
correct.
Silver had read that and knows that's going to happen. And he's accepted his fate. He's sacrificing himself for Jett.
So he starts to read the script, and as he's reading it,
we see what's happening in Silver's world to Silver. We cut to Silver because Jett's reading, oh, Crag is at Solaropolis doing his master plan. So we see Crag there. This is where we see him looking through like a globe and like, oh, that's Paris. I sucked up Paris. Yeah, okay, Crag, whatever.
Yeah.
Artemis and Hawk are there. Silver shows up, is fighting him. Oh, but then he gets a laser pointed at him.
Yeah.
Crag is flipping some switches, and there's a laser pointed at him. But then he says, oh, I'm going to flip this other switch that is the actual laser. So he has a laser-guided laser, but it's only one of the lasers that would actually kill Silver. And before he flips the switch, who comes swinging in?
Batman.
It's better than all of those. It's Jett Jackson.
Jett Jackson, my hero.
The ultimate crossover. He swings in, hits Crag. Silver's like, hey, how about you hit the power button? Because this is the most obvious control panel where it's like laser, tilt. I guess one of them says tilt for how to aim it, and then off. So, he hits off the off switch, and then they have a fight. It's largely Artemis and Hawk fighting, and it's really slow and kind of poorly choreographed.
Yes.
Not very exciting for the climax, but something that does happen that is very exciting. In this whole mix-up, it happens at one point where all of a sudden we look, and we had been dealing with Jett and Silver, so two people that looked identical, but now there are three of them.
Three of them, yes.
And we get the dramatic best line in the movie from Artemis, where he says, one of them's Crag. And
that was a great scene. Great moment.
Couldn't control my laughter here.
And there's like some great music going on, and it's
actually pretty good dramatic.
And it spins around for
it is the good, the bad, and the ugly of
a minute.
Yes. Oh, who's gonna pull the gun to shoot? And it's just cutting between the eyes.
And
then we get some voiceover of Grandma, something she said that I don't remember. It's something like, oh, I knew you weren't Jet because your eyes are different, and that, oh, Jet's eyes look like this. But then they both attack somebody. So that explains maybe how Silver knew who wasn't Jet. But it doesn't explain how Jet knew who wasn't Silver. Correct. But they both attack Craig. Hey, it's Craig.
He kicks him on the legs and he does a flip. And then he's just done. That's it. It's over. They win.
And this is reminding me that we forgot the scene.
His face fades away to the Craig face.
But there was another scene where the girl is actually secretly Craig for a bit.
Yeah, and that's what I mentioned earlier, but I don't really remember that at all.
Yeah, she's saying something, they're like, that seems crazy, and then she tries to steal his, dagger thing
Oh, that's
back.
right.
And then he switches to be Craig, and they're like, God damn it, Craig! And he's like, all right, guys, you fucking got me.
He doesn't even, care. It's, literally, right in front of him. He could grab and just run away, but he just, fuck it.
And then he portals out.
And then here comes the girl down the hallway.
And we should mention that in New York is where he shows his face, and then he shows that his face is burned.
Yes.
To be like, hey, fuck you, Jet, or Silver. You left me in that explosion. Yeah. But no, Silver tried to save him. You. And he closed the door, but he also has the power to never look like that.
Yes.
He can control what he looks like.
What does it really matter?
So it's not really that big a deal. But yes, the final... One of them is Craig!
Craig!
My God, it's Craig! Which I believe Craig is actually a character that was maybe in the show, but maybe not the main villain, I think.
Oh, Rat.
Yeah, same with the rat, but... Rat. So yes, they kick Craig, he's knocked out, he looks like Craig again. And then Hawk's like, oh wow, that was pretty fucking sick. How did you know who was who? And they don't even try to explain it, they're just like, we just knew.
Oh, they said something about he didn't have the swagger,
he wasn't as cool as us. Yeah. Okay, sure, fuck you, movie.
That's literally what it was. He just wasn't cool enough.
Fuck you for caring.
Yeah.
So then we get some emotional reunions where Silver is reunited with Artemis and Hawk.
They make out. Artemis and Silver, that is.
Jet and Silver have a little bit of a moment where they both come to realization that each of their lives is special.
Yeah.
Because there was stuff before Silver, well... It's weird because it was Jet filming scenes as Silver, which apparently happened. So when Silver came over to Jet's world, he had those scenes where he's saying, I'm tired of Mom, Mission Operation Matrix, or whatever. So now they're like, you know what? Our lives were pretty good. And it seems like Silver has the much rawer end of the deal because his life is him being in danger all the time. I don't know why he has to do these missions all the time, but he doesn't seem to have a choice. He gets forced on them by Artemis.
Now the what's-his-name's locked
and
out.
And Jeff he's an actor, which not to say isn't, tough for a kid. I mean, you see how many child actors
turn into meth addicts
But yeah, it does seem that Silver's life is a little bit worse.
Yeah.
Jet goes through the portal. He meets up with, Mom and Dad, Grandma, his friends, as well as... Oh, before we can say the nice lines of, hey, I'm Jett Jackson and I'm Silverstone. I don't need to choose who I am. And then Silver's like, yeah, anytime you want to see me, you just look in a mirror.
That's right.
Okay, sure.
That's right.
Jeff then meets up with Kayla because we got to wrap. 5 minutes, all right, and action. All right, wrap it up. Jeff meets... Jet, I called him Jeff again.
Jeff,
my name Jeff.
So he meets up with Kayla, and we see that everything's made up because they hold hands.
Yeah.
But this is kind of an other me situation where all of the legwork of this relationship was done not by Jet. It was done by Silver, and he just gets to reap the benefits of it.
True.
But hey, they're just holding hands, so there wasn't any dramatic kiss or anything.
No.
And then the agent producer comes up and says, hey, Jet, I've been wanting to talk to you. And the dad says, hey, don't pressure my son if he doesn't want to do the show. But luckily, Jet says, hey, everybody.
Stands upon his little soapbox.
You know what? I'll keep doing the show because...
4 more years.
It's tough,
4
but
more years.
Y'all need me. And so, 3 more years of the show.
Yeah.
But not really, because
it's
there was...
done in 2 more episodes.
2 more episodes.
So.
And my final line, which was my own editorializing, is... it might make my life suck, but I'll keep doing it. So I don't really know what the takeaway we're supposed to get from this movie is. Yeah, just like grin and bear it. It is a good message, but not a very decom message of, you know what, it's good for other people, so you should do it. It's like kind of the opposite of like Luck of the Irish, where I identified some pro-capitalist spins on that, where this is you're doing it for the collective, doing it for the communal.
Yeah, it's brainwashing our children.
I mean, it is still a product of capitalism with this show, but so yeah, that was kind of an interesting thing. Just do what you're supposed to. Kind of like the message of The Last Jedi for Poe Dameron's character, which was, you should just follow orders and not try to do random stuff and believe in your leaders, even if they're not telling you what their plan is. It's like, okay, I mean, I guess that's a lesson a character can learn, but it's kind of a weird one.
Conform.
So that was the Jett Jackson movie. It is a weird one for us to rate.
Not knowing anything going in.
But it still, I felt, existed fairly well outside of the show, because obviously the show, the Silverstone character is not treated as a real person.
Correct.
And that doesn't impact the show really beyond this point. But I felt we were able to pick up on the majority of the important characters.
You could definitely watch.
Were.
You could definitely watch the movie not knowing anything. But I mean, it definitely makes a lot more sense and puts the pieces together, knowing
I don't know
the background on the characters and the relationships.
I don't know if even if it was more. Actually, I wouldn't watch it even if it was on Disney Plus. But if I had to choose a Disney Channel show other than Corey in the House to watch, if it was on Disney Plus, I feel like the premise of this seems like a cool premise for a kids show.
Yeah,
the show within a show type thing. It's not really like anything else. Lizzie McGuire is just, she's a girl. Does she talk to like the camera?
Yeah.
Okay. Even Stevens, a family oriented thing. Those are still more unique, because then eventually you get into a lot of like the laugh track shows, and that's been basically Disney Channel for 15 years or something. And of those shows,
is there a laugh track in that zombie shit?
No.
Oh, thank God.
I'm talking about the shows. I'm talking about Wizards of Waverly Place, Hannah Montana.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And really of that era, I wasn't watching much, but I enjoyed the Nickelodeon live action shows more.
Yeah.
Drake and Josh, iCarly, that kind of stuff.
Amanda Please.
But for a children's television show, I think this seemed
It'd be all right.
Pretty good. And it's for a movie that...
So the movie's not on there. Is the show on Disney Plus? No, nothing. That's weird.
Yeah, so it is an anomaly, and it is something that is not easily accessible for us to really say, hey, go out and watch it. But I enjoyed it and left feeling better. It left a better impression of just being maybe hollow in some ways for us not knowing everything from the show, as opposed to us feeling hollow and empty inside, as some DComs leave us feeling.
I don't think we really complained too much about it.
No, there's some fun stuff to laugh and make fun of. And there is kind of a bit of mind fuck if you try to think about how these two worlds exist. Yeah. But they're informed by one another. But that's just fun. Yeah. Whereas something like Hounded left us exhausted in some ways. And at the very bottom of, Ready to Run, it's just devoid of entertainment and anything of value. So that was the Jett Jackson, the real famous Jett Jackson, the movie.
Silver Surfer. Silver Fox.
T-O-O.
T-O-O.
So this has been a whole new pod. Not to blow your mind or anything. Yeah. If you were somebody who watched Jett Jackson as a kid and have memories, fond or otherwise, write in, let us know more of what that show was like, because
please,
at the most I'd read Wikipedia plot synopsis of episodes, but I'm probably not even going to do that. You can email us at awholenewpod@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter at awholenewpod, all one word. You can follow Jacob
on the Twitter, Jacob_Telejohn,
as he mourns the loss of sports betting.
Yeah, it's been
daily fantasy sports when coronavirus has killed all sports.
It has. It's gonna kill me next. Jacob_Telejohn, JACOB_TELLIJOHN.
And in lieu of having any emails to read, last episode we had a bit of Lucas story time with my story about Brad R's cats attacking, or not really attacking,
Old Coin's best offer.
So we have teased it now for 2 episodes.
Oof. Dustin
The
said
phrase
it.
we said, old coins, best offer.
Yes.
So a little history for Jacob, Dustin, and I. And we kind of went in with this for like the first episode of the podcast that we weren't really huge friends in high school. But
No.
towards the end of senior year of high school,
Yeah.
we were hanging out more.
I don't even know how I started hanging out with Lucas.
It was a
I don't
mistake.
know why it happened. No.
Well, you were kind of a novelty.
I still
It's
don't
like,
know.
hey, this fucking crazy Telejon guy, he's so wild.
Who knows?
Try to contain the stories I could tell, but
Yeah.
so somehow Telejon started coming around more, and we were spending more time. And then once we were in college, I'd come home for a weekend or for breaks, and a lot of what we would do,
Thrifting.
we would go thrifting.
Thrift shopping.
A lot of our regular hits would be we'd hit thrift shops, usually just one, and then go to like Mickey D's and eat some dollar millionaire items.
That's right.
And the store we would almost always go to was the Salvation Army run one.
Yeah,
which,
because they would always have 50% off sales on
it's not so much
Fridays.
relevant who ran it. It was that it had the deal on Fridays
Yeah.
after 5 p.m.
5
or
or
something.
6 or something.
Where it
yeah.
went into super sale mode where most items in the store were 50% off.
Yeah, so that's literally like a shirt for like 80 cents.
Which
You know.
tells you about the quality of stuff that they were selling is
Yeah.
it was very low
I got
because it
some
was
good stuff there, though.
largely just for people to get stuff really cheap. And
Yeah.
that's fine for
Yeah.
people to get clothes, but that led to me and Dustin a lot of the time having nothing of interest for us to buy.
Yeah.
But Jacob basically felt obligated to never leave
With all
ever
the 100
buying something.
items. Yes.
And Jacob, you know, maybe slightly an undiagnosed hoarder.
Yeah.
So he would get lots of stuff.
This was also around the time when I was doing a lot more YouTube. So I would always have my camera on me.
Yes. Back when he was Mr. YouTube as opposed
Yes.
to now Mr. I can't make our videos for YouTube, Mr. YouTube.
Yeah.
Also, another side note is Jacob, even though these shirts and clothes could sometimes be very cheap, and often he did this at other thrift stores as opposed to this, would sometimes go into the changing rooms, put on something he wanted to buy, and would then just walk out of the store wearing it. So just let the world judge him more for that terrible act of stealing from a thrift store.
It happened.
So yes, this was a situation where Jacob had camera ready,
Yes.
looking for hot vlog
Hot
content,
video,
even though he was a
yes.
terrible vlogger and never was able to really stick
Daily
with
school
it.
vlogs.
So we were kind of perusing around, and a lot of the time we would fall in these situations, me and Dustin, where we would get in there, maybe 15 to 20 minutes later, I was done, and it was just us killing time.
Another hour.
I mean, like, Telejon, are you ready? Jacob, let's go. I'm hungry. Let's go to McDonald's. And he'd be like, no, let's keep going. And without being too mean, around this time, sometimes Jacob could have a bit of an odor.
Wow.
He was a big fan and probably still is of Axe body spray.
Yeah.
So I think that was helpful for him to mask some of this stuff. But at this time, I was around Jacob when he was looking around some stuff, and I'm like, shit, he smells bad. But over time, we, to be nice to Jacob, found out that the smell was not Jacob. There was an odor emanating from a certain corner
Yeah.
of the store, which usually had books and, you know, like some VHS tapes.
Yes.
And we saw a styrofoam cup, not like the smaller size, but like a double-sized styrofoam cup.
Yeah.
And on the side of it, it was
Oh,
sitting on a
yeah.
shelf, which was weird because it was a book area. But
Somebody
on the
might have
side
just,
of
somebody
it-
might have just been drinking out of this cup or something, set it down after
Yeah.
they finished. Yeah.
On the side of it was written the funniest thing that could be written on it. These are comedic words that it was a disgusting act, as we will reveal soon what happened. But these are,
Oh.
I want to meet the person who wrote this on there. But on the side of the styrofoam cup was written "Old Coins Best Offer," which has us intrigued.
Like,
I'm a bit of a
shit.
coin collector. Jacob is definitely a coin
Yeah.
collector. Also, the fact that it was best offer, which implied that we could haggle.
Yeah.
And this was a bartering system, and that is not normally how this stuff worked in this thrift store. And there was a cover over it.
Yeah.
Some kind of cover, and I don't remember who looked at it
I
first.
don't know.
But somebody looked at it, and we found...
I think it was a little girl that looked at
No,
it.
that comes
Oh,
later,
sorry.
where one of us looked at it, and we found out that, at this point, maybe not unsurprisingly, that the smell was coming from this cup, and it was filled with actual, I believe, human shit. not dog shit. It was somebody had shit into this cup, written on the side of it, and put it in the store. As far as we could tell, it wasn't somebody else's farming of YouTube content. This was just some nefarious act that somebody did. And of course, Jacob is getting out his camera to like film it. And this video eventually...
I don't think we actually looked in it with our eyes. I think we used the camera first or something to look through it.
Well, we had to figure something out.
Yeah.
But all of us were like, we knew what was there.
We started camping it out, too.
Yeah, well, you were filming it, and then Dustin was probably like, hey, what should we do? I'm like, I'm not fucking touching it.
So we camped it out for a little bit.
Yeah, we were watching it, and we saw a little kid.
People were smelling
a little kid came up to it. Yeah, we were seeing very visibly that people were kind of like picking up like something's weird. And then this kid saw it. He went up to the cup, looked in, and also probably looked like us, where he was horrified to see what he found. But he was responsible, and he took it to the bathroom and
threw it away.
Probably not like down the toilet, because I don't think it could have gone down. But he was the hero that we were not able to bring ourselves to be.
Man, oh man.
And Jacob was filming this. Great story. Perfect content. The video he produced, terrible. It came off as like clickbaity in like a way that it couldn't be, because... nobody knew what the story was. Whereas if this was current YouTube, it would be a picture of one of us, mouth open, picture of a cup, circle around it, arrows pointing at the cup.
Like fumes pouring out of it.
Caught live on tape, gone sexual. But yeah, that's the story of Old Coin's best offer. A joke I would never have made myself, but at least part of the joke I can respect as some of the funniest comedic writing ever out there. So that is something we'll never forget, and now you probably will never forget, and as you can live vicariously through us.
Yeah. Wow. Throwback.
Hopefully that story lived up to it being teased for basically a month worth of time now before we actually told it. But I think it was a good one. So if you want more Lucas and Jacob and often Dustin story time, we have other stuff in the chamber that we could bring out, so...
Always story time.
You can always just randomly write in and say, it's Quince, hashtag story time, and we can bring it to you. We already plugged our email and Twitter accounts, and now, with that great segue, I'll now say, subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, follow us on Spotify, do whatever you can on Google Play. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Like all the videos.
All the videos, especially
hit the bell.
Yeah.
Run the playlists. Share it with your friends.
Family,
comment.
Coworkers.
What the fuck is this garbage?
Post it on Reddit.
Comment. Old Coin's best offer.
Yes. If you made it to this point of the end of the video, yes. Old Coin's best offer in the comments.
Write us a review if I didn't say that on Apple Podcasts. Just, get the word out there. We enjoy doing this podcast, but we would enjoy it more if we knew
more people listen.
A lot of people enjoyed it.
Well, one of our videos hit over like 5.5K. We're almost over 15.
That's an anomaly. That's an aberration.
I don't know how that happened.
13th year, probably, in my opinion, like
the
a
worst,
C- or D tier decom.
People love it, though, and we
people
talk shit.
Hate us.
People hate it for it.
Hashtag Cody sucks, the first thing you see when you click on that video.
15,000 views closing in.
Yeah.
Not bad.
And I know some of you have come onto the show through YouTube, so that's cool. So then, until next time, with the Jenny Project.
Stay safe. Stay stocked up on your TP.
Don't go crazy, though.
Leave some for us.
It's serious, but be reasonable. But the important thing we should take away from this is the cruise industry deserves to die.
Wow.
Who could it be?
It's me, Austin!
Oh, son of a bitch!
What? It's me, Austin! It was me all along, Austin!
Damn, I cannot believe it.
You all bought it! They did. Even my family, even my immediate